The conflict between Israel and Gaza is one of the most enduring and tragic conflicts in the world. It has spanned decades, affecting countless lives and shaping the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. It is a conflict deeply rooted in history, with layers of complexity that go beyond the immediate headlines. With claims and counterclaims dating back centuries, the struggle for this land has been a constant through the ages. This small strip of land on the eastern Mediterranean coast has witnessed countless wars, uprisings and peace efforts, each leaving an indelible mark on its landscape and its people. All these events have left their mark on the people who call it home, shaping their lives and their futures. Understanding this complex conflict requires delving into its historical origins, examining the roots of the tensions that have persisted for so long. Tracing the key events that have shaped its trajectory is essential to grasp the full picture, and examining the human toll it has taken on both sides reveals the profound impact on everyday lives. This essay aims to provide a concise overview of the Israel-Gaza conflict, highlighting the major historical milestones that have led to the current situation. From the rise of competing nationalisms in the late 19th century, which set the stage for future confrontations, to the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, a pivotal moment that reshaped the region, the subsequent wars, and the ongoing struggles. This essay will explore the intricate web of events that define this protracted conflict, offering insights into the key moments that have driven the narrative. The goal is to foster a deeper understanding of the historical context, the complexities involved, and the myriad factors that continue to fuel the conflict, and ultimately to underscore the urgent need for a just and lasting peace for all those living in its shadow, a peace that acknowledges the past while looking towards a hopeful future. The seeds of the Israel-Gaza conflict were sown in the late 19th century with the rise of two competing nationalisms, Zionism and Arab nationalism. These movements, though distinct in their origins and aspirations, would come to define the political landscape of the region for decades to come. Zionism, emerging from a history of anti-Semitism and persecution in Europe, sought to establish a Jewish homeland in Palestine. The movement was driven by the desire to create a safe haven for Jews, free from the systemic discrimination and violence they faced in various parts of Europe. Jews regarded Palestine as their ancestral homeland, a land of biblical significance. This deep historical and spiritual connection fueled their determination to return and rebuild their lives in what they considered their rightful home. At the same time, Arab nationalism was gaining momentum in the Middle East. This movement sought to unify the Arab people and assert their independence from Ottoman and later European colonial rule. Arabs in Palestine, who constituted the majority population, saw their homeland as part of the larger Arab world and opposed the Zionist project. They viewed the influx of Jewish settlers as a threat to their own national aspirations and way of life. They feared displacement and becoming a minority in their own land. The prospect of losing their homes and livelihoods to incoming settlers created a sense of urgency and resistance among the Arab population. These competing national aspirations set the stage for a clash of interests and identities. The struggle for dominance and recognition in the same territory led to a series of confrontations and hostilities. The struggle for land and self-determination became intertwined, creating a volatile mix that would erupt in the decades to follow. Both sides were determined to assert their claims, leading to an escalating cycle of conflict. The arrival of Jewish immigrants, encouraged by the Zionist movement, further heightened tensions. Each new wave of immigration was met with increasing resistance from the Arab population, who saw their demographic and political influence waning. The indigenous Arab population viewed this influx with suspicion, fearing the erosion of their cultural and social fabric. The changes brought by the new settlers were seen as an encroachment on their traditional way of life. The stage was set for a protracted conflict that would leave a lasting legacy of pain, mistrust and displacement. The early seeds of discord planted in the late 19th and early 20th centuries would grow into a complex and enduring struggle, shaping the destinies of both peoples for generations to come. Following World War I, the collapse of the Ottoman Empire brought Palestine under British control. This marked the beginning of a complex and turbulent period in the region's history. The British Mandate for Palestine, established in 1922, was tasked with creating a Jewish national home, while safeguarding the rights of the existing Arab population. This dual obligation set the stage for a series of conflicts and challenges that would define the Mandate period. This proved to be a daunting and ultimately impossible task. The British found themselves caught between conflicting promises made to both Jews and Arabs, each group holding on to their own aspirations and grievances. The British found themselves caught between conflicting promises made to both Jews and Arabs. The promises made during the war to both communities created a web of expectations that were difficult to reconcile. Jewish immigration continued, albeit with restrictions, further fueling Arab anxieties. The influx of Jewish settlers seeking refuge and a new homeland intensified the fears and frustrations of the Arab population, who felt their land and rights were being encroached upon. Violent clashes between Jews and Arabs became increasingly common, forcing the British to maintain a delicate balancing act between the two communities. The streets of Palestine became battlegrounds, with British soldiers often caught in the crossfire, trying to keep the peace. The 1936-39 Arab revolt against British rule and Jewish immigration marked a turning point. This widespread uprising was a clear indication of the deep-seated anger and resistance among the Arab population. It highlighted the depth of Arab opposition to the Zionist project and the limitations of British rule in quelling the escalating violence. The revolt underscored the growing tensions and the inability of the British to manage the conflicting demands of both communities. The British, unable to find a solution that satisfied both sides, decided to relinquish their mandate, leaving the future of Palestine uncertain and volatile. Their departure marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new, unpredictable chapter in the region's history. In 1947, the United Nations voted to partition Palestine into two states, one Jewish and one Arab. The partition plan was accepted by the Jewish leadership, but rejected by the Arab leadership, who saw it as a betrayal of their rights. The stage was set for a full-blown war. When Israel declared independence in May 1948, neighboring Arab armies invaded, marking the beginning of the First Arab-Israeli War. The war ended in 1949 with Israel's victory and the expansion of its territory beyond the UN-designated borders. The war also resulted in the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their homes, an event known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic. This mass exodus created a Palestinian refugee crisis that continues to this day, with many Palestinians living in refugee camps in neighboring countries, including Gaza. The 1948 war left a legacy of bitterness, displacement and unresolved issues that continue to shape the conflict today.